All right. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, CSLPD.
Good morning. Good morning.
It's another beautiful day in the desert. It's getting warmer. And here we are on day 7. What is this? 740 something?
748, I think, Dr. Joe.
It kind of feels that way. So actually, let's close our eyes for just a moment and get centered on this beautiful experience of this moment and in this day. And as we do that, we take a deep breath in. And as we fill our lungs with the breath of life, we just know that we are in our right place right here, right now, like everyone else. We are in our right place right here, right now, doing the right thing at the right moment. And the right conversation, the right words, and the right sentiment is expressed in this moment. And we are open and receptive to whatever is going to unfold here today, knowing that something, someone will be changing their lives as a result of this conversation today. We're so very blessed to have this time, to have the ability to sit before you and share thoughts. And we welcome this experience with great joy and expectancy and release it to the law. We let it be so, and so it is. So it is. So good morning, Charles.
Morning, Joe.
While we stock up some questions on the right column, why don't you tell me what's going on with you? You said you went to the center with Mila.
Yeah, we've been doing some painting around there, and she's been a great little helper. That lasted about 3 days, and then she said, "Daddy, my arms hurt. I'm done." So anyway, I think the painting romance is over. But there was something that happened when we were there that was that I think was more comforting for me than it was for her. I've been feeling the last 3 days. I've been kind of going through it a little bit, feeling some doubt and some fear. And feeling a little bit lost. My family's going to be heading back to Seattle. Julia and my daughter, they're going to be heading back home to take care of business up there for a few months before they come back. And it just, all sorts of, emotions come up. I don't want to be away from my daughter. So we were there, and I said to her, we were at the center, and I said to her, "Babe, I'm going over to the other side of the building to do something." Like I was going from the office area over to the bookstore, if you can picture that. Which of course you can. But she didn't hear me or didn't register because she's in her own world. So I went over there. I was over there for a few minutes, and then I came back. And she said, "Daddy, I was looking for you. I couldn't find you." I said, "Babe, I told you exactly where I was going to be." She said, "But Daddy, I couldn't find you. I was scared." And then she gives me a hug, and that's what she wants to do to feel safe. And I said to her in that moment, I said, "Babe, even though you didn't know where I was, I will always know where you are. I want you to understand that." And I want her to understand that. But in that moment, for me, it was more profound, I think, than it was like a lightning bolt right to my heart in that moment. That for her, I want her to feel safe in that. For the idea is that she can feel safe knowing that even if she doesn't know where I am, I know where she is. And because of that, she's safe. And then it just penetrated me. Like, if I can live in my life with that same understanding that I might not always know where God is, like in those moments where I'm wrapped in fear and concern and feeling, just emotionally lost and things like that. If I can't find God in that moment, but I know, even in the midst of that mystery, that God knows where I am, there's a safety there. There's just an understanding that, okay, I can't touch the hem of the garment right now. I can't touch that feeling of peace. But I know that God knows where I am. There's a prayer that says, "Search me, Lord." I'm not sure where it comes from exactly in this moment, but it's "Search me, Lord, search my heart." And that was of tremendous comfort to me that, okay, I feel lost right now, but God knows where I am. Life still knows that I'm an important, integral part of it because I'm alive, because I'm here. And because of that, there was just a comfort that washed over me that I've been kind of living in the last 24 hours or so. That's been just that understanding's been healing. So, and it was just meaning, and the other kind of implication of that is that even that a prayer was answered in the midst of that too, without me even knowing what the prayer was. It was just a moment of insight brought by my love and relationship with my daughter. And I think a further drill down into that is that the answer to whatever's dancing on your heart can show up even if you don't know what the prayer is. that if we just remain open and available to truth, to insight, just keep my heart open, even a crack.
Yeah.
God finds a way to inspire us.
Well, and I think there's two ways to look at that. There's the literal, there's the literal translation with you and Mila. And I felt that with Carly when she was a child. And what's interesting is that you have to grow up and have more faith than you've ever had before as they grow up and you don't know where they are. You have to know that they're okay. You have to know that they're safe. You're constantly doing the prayer protection for them, even though they're not aware of it. And there it is, it's a real experience, but you move into a greater sense of faith, and sometimes they're where they should be and sometimes they're not. And so you just have to trust that there's something. And so you have that message, and then you have the overall message, which is, I need to learn to trust that the universe knows where I am, and I'm well taken care of, and my needs will be met, and all these things will be done. So yeah, that's a really good lesson. It's a really good lesson. And it's funny because it's funny that you say that you'd already said, look, I'm going over here, and she kind of didn't put the two together, and then suddenly it's like, oh, there you appeared again, and it's like, okay, now I'm okay. But in that moment, that you're also teaching her that even though there'll be separation and absence physically, we used to teach Carly, like, it's like, we're always just a thought away. The comfort of your dads, they're always just a thought away. Yep. And when you get nervous, when you get scared, just know that we're just a thought away.
Yep.
All right, so let's turn to some science of mind principle.
Let's do it.
I just got there's a question up there that says, since God doesn't have food sensitivities or seasonal allergies, how can I best manifest no longer having these in my life? Well, actually, the universe does, because the universe is expressing by means of you. And to say that God can't have these things that need to be taken care of would say that you're not that expression of God. So there's not a way to just say, okay, there's a human condition. Now, what we do is, whenever the universe has given us an opportunity to express our wisdom and knowledge on certain subject matters, then we are given the wisdom and knowledge to do that and the ability to take care of it. Yep. But interestingly enough, I don't have the book here. It's in the office. If you go to Louise Hay, You Can Heal Your Life. That book is like an encyclopedia for when you look at any kind of illness or physical challenge. And there's also, she draws a parallel from every challenge into a root cause within consciousness that may be, and I'll just say that may be reflected in a food sensitivity or allergy. So, a lot of times when you live out here, especially here, well, I bet it was that way everywhere you go, as allergy and flu season comes in, every drugstore on the end cap of every aisle at the drugstore, and then there is that whole aisle of allergy medication, and it says flu season is coming, get your flu shot, and also stock up on all of this stuff. And what I think is sometimes just that suggestion brings that in. Now, sometimes we have physical realities. There's a physical reality to food. I have food sensitivities now, and I don't know when I grew into them. And what I did is I just said, I don't have to live within the restrictions of abiding by eating only certain foods, but I know I can choose to do that. And when I choose to do that, my life is so much easier. So we don't have to recognize something. It's the same premise as, putting your body into really difficult physical situations. You can recognize that I can strain my body and do, I can work out with, too heavy weights or run too far. I can put a certain stress on my body, but I'm also making a choice to do that. All right. I'm making a choice to do that. So I would say check Louise Hay out, because she's going to have something to say about it. And then also understand that God expressing, everybody's a human being, and everybody has something to deal with, and you can either deal with it and your life will be more comfortable, or you don't have to. And, you can live a life that's a little more uncomfortable.
And Joe, the thing that create, if there's an issue, excuse me, God created the pill too, through a person's ingenuity, through our insight. So if there's a malady, there's always, the universe always provides. Like I heard once that there's next to poison ivy, there's a particular kind of fern that grows. We don't have that down here, but this is back in the Pacific Northwest. But
Right.
next to poison ivy, there's a fern that grows that if you get poison ivy, you rub the fern on it. You know, it's like this idea of harmony. And there is a harmony. So, and also I think it's a metaphysical trap. It's a new thought trap that if somehow you're in malaise, that you're not divine or it's not of God, and nothing could be further from the truth.
Yeah.
And I think it creates a tremendous amount of anxiety for people, and I'm wrong, and guilt and shame that is just unnecessary. You know, again, I think as a human being, there are human conditions, and part of that is sickness from time to time. And we don't ever want to say, you know, the person that has cancer is somehow less than God, or the person that
metaphysically inferior because they're going through something. Yeah, correct.
Or metaphysically inferior.
Yeah. I mean, exactly. Physically or metaphysically inferior. We got to watch that.
Yep.
Then it says here, I've been saying Louise Hay affirmations for months. So, you know what? The old the strategy is, just like Charles said, pill or prayer or a combination of both. That's all we can do. That's all we can do. You can. The thing about the affirmations and the prayer, two things can happen. You can subconsciously move yourself into a paradigm and routine where you're taking care of those issues without making them an issue. The key is that there is a subconscious acceptance. When there is this acceptance that, okay, you know what, I have this, my body doesn't function in this particular area. It's not rejuvenating. I don't want to go through the process of having surgery or whatever that is. I've made my choice, so I'm going to adjust my life. But when I do that, when I make that adjustment, I have to make sure that I'm making that adjustment without having that be the only emphasis of my life, saying, oh my God, every time I go out, I don't make a big deal out of it unless someone says, can we have group, make a group food? Like it's all family style. That's the only time I have to go, okay, wait a minute. Other than that, I just look for things that I know I can eat without making it an issue with the people around the table.
Yep.
It's like, okay, I adjust quietly in my own mind, and it's like, and I don't make it a big deal anymore. It's like, okay, yeah, sometimes when I wake up, it's a Claritin kind of day. I just know that today it's like, you know what, I'm going to do that because I want to make my day. You just do it. Pillar prayer combination of both. Yep. Dr. Holmes' philosophy.
Absolutely. And I'll share that I had seasonal allergies horribly in Seattle, and I'm getting them down here. And someone at one point came up to me and said, try local bee pollen and 2 nettles pills a day. And within a few weeks, no more seasonal allergies. So I started doing that down here. I just started the regimen a couple of days ago.
What is it?
I have seasonal allergies. What's that?
What is it?
I went down to the Clark's right down the street, the health food store, local bee pollen. You have to keep it refrigerated, a teaspoon of local bee pollen and 2 nettles pills. They're actually for urinary whatever, but I don't take them for urinary anything. I take it's for seasonal allergies, and it works.
Wow. All
Talk
right.
about harmony of nature.
I'm going to write that down, Charles.
Yep. Now, disclaimer, I'm not a doctor, but I did say at a Holiday Express last night.
No.
You've seen those commercials, but it worked. I mean, it worked for me. A teaspoon of local, it's got to be local bee pollen, and 2 nettles pills a day. Yep.
That's funny. That's great. Yeah, it's funny. And it's funny how, is it really that, or is it your belief around it?
Does it matter?
See, that's what I always tell people. It's like,
does it matter?
Yeah, it's like, okay, well, if I take a teaspoon of this and this, okay, is it really that, or is it the fact that you're like making an effort to, put yourself in check around it? That's what I think is kind of funny. So you were talking to me about going insane. Now I know you weren't talking about literally like insanity, but people reference that word a lot. I think people use the word insane. Oh my God, I'm going insane. I feel like I'm insane. I hear that a lot, especially in this this lockdown era.
Yep. Well, that's how it occurred to me, in that way that we just kind of quip it. Oh, I feel like I'm going insane, rather than whatever might be real insanity. But yeah, it's and so intuitively I was led to look up the definition of insanity, and I'd
Yeah.
like to share it. The definition, not from Webster's, but from Science of Mind. It's in the glossary on page 602 of the Science of Mind. I'll read it. And again, like I said, I was intuitively guided to it because it was, like I said, I've just been distraught the last few days, just not feeling like myself. And so I came up to, I was just doing some study and came to this definition: insanity. And from the Science of Mind, the glossary: a temporary or permanent control of the conscious mind by the unconscious or subjective. This control may be complete or in degrees. Psychologists find it difficult to distinguish between sanity and insanity, since we are all insane in such a degree as we entertain wrong conclusions about life. But in its broader sense, insanity means a temporary or permanent loss of the objective faculties. The throne of reason is usurped, while the subjective, emotional reaction to life controls the thought. The real mind, of course, cannot be deranged, and a complete mental treatment for insanity is to know there is but one mind, which is now functioning and perfectly functioning in the individual who appears to be insane. So that was me if fear had usurped my faith.
Yeah.
And that's where the insanity was coming from. Like nothing feels settled, everything feels up in the air, the economy, this, that, whatever, my family. It was like I didn't have one thing I can control, which is the control of my mind. I felt like I'd lost that to a collective idea about something.
Well, if we just unpack those sentences.
Yep.
Almost each sentence into itself has a little lesson into it, that's what I love about anytime I look at any text. It's like, unpack this.
Yep.
I like right out of the gate, a temporary or permanent control of the conscious mind. So sometimes it is, I would say in most cases, this is there's a temporary control of the subconscious taking over. It's almost as if our minds become exhausted, reeling in the events of a day or a situation. And in that place, it goes back to an old idea of, well, I'm just going crazy. So I'm just going to surrender to this craziness, knowing that it's not a permanent thing. It's a temporary thing.
Yeah.
But if you notice a lot of his definitions, everything is temporary. It says a temporary or permanent control of the conscious by this of conscious mind. This control may be complete or in degrees. It's almost as if, and I don't know about you, but I know when I'm ramping up to crazy world.
Oh yeah.
Own world of craziness. I know when I am getting. I look at it like I'm getting out. You remember Johnny Carson talk show? Do you remember Johnny Carson?
I do. I didn't. Yes.
Okay.
I was young.
So Jay Leno, any of the talk show hosts.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like, okay, I'm in the green room of Crazy Town right now, my own crazy mind. I'm in the green room and I'm about to make an appearance and I'm about to go on the show. It's like, okay, they're putting me in makeup and hair and makeup and I'm getting ready. So I talk into myself. It's like, okay, you are starting to drive yourself crazy.
Yep.
And I literally have to watch the way I say that because I can see myself getting ready to go on to the set of insanity, a temporary insanity, because you're thinking, oh my God, but I feel it coming. It's not usually for me, it's not something that just suddenly happens. It's a feeling of being overwhelmed by many factors and not being able to separate them out to a place where I can sift them through individually.
Look at it objectively.
Yeah.
As opposed to subjectively. Like
Yeah.
you're just, yep.
By object. Right. And literally
the train instead of being the conductor of the train.
Yeah, I tell you, but I know when I'm going there. I know when I'm personally going in onto the show of what I call my crazy life unfolding. It's like, okay, get ready, suit up. You're about to get on stage and be introduced as, hi, your name is Joe, and what are you doing? What kind of craziness are you into today? It feels like that. It genuinely feels like that.
the other day, just as in the middle of what I was experiencing, my daughter lost the remote to the TV for the 500th time. 500th for the 500th time said, "Daddy, I need you to help me find it. Daddy, help me find the remote." And that was the beginning of the spiral. Because it takes 20 minutes. I mean, the thing's like somewhere, and she doesn't remember where it, but so I'm down on the floor, I'm up underneath the couch, I'm pulling, tearing the whole couch apart again for the 500th time. And then I was 3 seconds away from taking the TV, the remote, and the entire console and just throwing it off the porch. That was my spiral, and it's okay. We found the remote. It's going to be fine. I remember when I'm going kind of astray here a little bit, but there was one time when my mom, when we were kids, I know we were having fight after fight about the TV. We went to school one day and came home and the TV wasn't there anymore. And she said that somebody broke in and the TV got stolen. And I swear, between my sister, my brother, and myself, we knew that she put that TV somewhere. She gave it to a neighbor. She put it in storage. She did something to cure the issue. So I was thinking about that. But anyway, it's like, who knows what the thing's going to be too. So how do we hold on to our sanity? This type of thing, just prayer and talking and
it is. And right now it's a challenge. Yesterday, one of the things that tips me into insanity is technology. Trey and I were in the process of refinancing our house, and we were trying to get, how do I get this document printed up, and it won't print, and one of our printers is broken. We can't get it fixed because the store is closed. And we're thinking, we were so frustrated. And on top of that, I'll go to confession. He lost his mask. He has a mask and he lost it. He can't find it anywhere. I'm like, how can you lose this mask? It's like losing the remote control. But now it's like, okay, now we cannot go out in public because we have to find a mask. We have to make a mask. So it was really funny because it was one of those, and one of those things, it was like rolling into it. And I felt both of us, I kept trying to bring it down. This is not a 911. Just bring it down. The energy. This is not a 911 energy. Okay, we have got numerous requests.
Oh, cool.
Numerous requests. Please spell the second remedy to purchase for your allergies. Local bee pollen and spell
Nettle. Nettles.
And they're
you
pills.
Can find them probably at Whole Foods, Clark's, any kind of, more.
The health places. Yeah.
It's a dietary supplement. Nettles. I guess the proper way to pronounce it would be nettles.
All right. Got it. You know what? I think the stock just soared because Charles just said, this is what works for me. Now watch. We have to give a disclaimer because you could be allergic to it.
That's what I'm saying.
It worked. Careful. Contact your doctor.
Jeff, we're recording this. Right? It worked for me. It worked for me.
It's like, please check with your doctor before making any changes to your dietary supplements. Right. Okay. Here, Dick had a question for reincarnation. What's your thought about reincarnation? I have several, but what is your thought?
Well, I don't know. Actually, I haven't come to any sort of conclusion, if you will, about it. I don't know. I guess within an infinite, would I want to come back here and do this experience again? I'm not sure. What else might there be for the soul to experience in other ways that it could manifest and experience itself. So, maybe it's a situation where, there's also this, I think it gets into a scientific conversation too. There's talk of a multiverse, not a universe, what happens in other expressions of the multiverse. I guess for me, at this point, I bring things back to a personal level. Would I want to come back here and experience this life again? I don't think for some reason, I don't think it's mandatory. I don't think it's, but then again, we talk about old souls, like people used to call me an old soul. And I know there's wisdom that my daughter has, but I don't necessarily think that she got that from being a human being before. So I don't know. I really don't. What are your thoughts, Joe?
Well, Okay, I go back to if you want me to teach the science of mind perspective, I have to go back to Dr. Ernest Holmes. And Dr. Ernest Holmes said, and Frank Richelieu used to teach this, because Frank was in his classes, and he would say Dr. Holmes was very, very clear that that when you leave this universe, you go to a higher expression of energy, not recycled into the energy of the old. It was this spiral idea. Now, Ernest, the commentary went like that, but Hazel.
Did you mean Joe? When you leave the Earth, you spiral?
Yeah, when you leave this, when you leave this human experience,
Okay.
you go to a higher consciousness, a higher energy being. You wouldn't go to another form of itself, or a quote lesser form. In other words, I'm not going to come back as a ladybug, right? You go to a higher expression of something, a higher energy field, a higher receptivity, a higher, just a higher expression. Period is what he would always say. And Raymond Charles Barker also said at some point, he said, "Why would you ever want to come back and repeat this experience? Wouldn't you want to go into the new experience?" So some of the absolutists would tell you that they were not big on reincarnation. Now, metaphysics as a whole, I was going to say, Hazel Holmes, on the other spectrum, she was a mystic. And so she had more ideas of moving in and out of that mystic experience and coming back into another body and so on and so forth. So, Ernest had that influence in one ear, but also he had the absolutist in the other. So I sort of I fall into the place where I don't ever talk about what happens on the other side of this, because, I don't know if there's, I've never been, so I can't tell you what the experience will be. I know that there are all sorts of studies on all sorts of things, but I've always said, you know what, I don't know what's going to happen, but that's not going to keep me from living my best life here and now. I don't need to know what's going to happen on the other side. I'll need to know what I need to know at the moment I need to know it, but I don't have to think about how I'm going to come back or if I'm going to come back in that. So when it comes to reincarnation, I'm leaving that up to the individual to do their own research and to make their own conclusions. I personally don't think I personally don't want to come back into this. And so I'm hoping that my energy will will propel me into another dimension, and I won't have to come back. Now, who knows? I mean, I know a lot of people that do want to come back in different ways. Does the universe also comply to that request? Does it also say, well, that's your consciousness and you want to come back? Well, we've got a way to do that. Hallway 3 is for you. Go down that right there. For those of you who don't want, you go this way. If those of you who are uncertain, go here and watch both sides, and then you can decide where you want to go. Who knows what that looks like? No one knows.
Going into the DMV, are you here to get a new license to register?
Yeah,
what are you
this way. It's like just queue it up. So Dick, I don't know what the answer is. I know that what my answer is, and I know what Dr. Holmes taught. I know what some of the science of mind teachers were teaching at the time. I also know that it has evolved and that we have a lot of people who are a little more mystic in their approach. So I would say that also would include that. All right. So let's see. What do we have? Yesterday's soul making gave me a new perspective on how to view life's events. It's about the dialogue leading to the next is soul making. That perspective brings comfort. If you didn't watch yesterday's class, I encourage you to go back and watch it, because I was watching it as well and listening to it. Michael did a really good job of sort of outlining the soul's progression in different phases of spiritual functionality. And I thought that was really interesting. It was a really unique perspective. But while I'm out there, excuse me, and while we're out there on that subject matter, Charles and I were talking about him possibly coordinating a class, co-teaching a class with Michael that would be a regular, it would be an online class, but it would be like a tuition-based class, because we would want to be able to compensate Michael. And so
a weekly offering, right, is what we talked about.
Yeah, so sort of a weekly offering where you could get a hold of that. So if you're interested in that, make sure you kind of let us know in the comments that would be something you'd be interested in, because we can see how many people would be interested in that. If we can get enough people, that would be a possibility.
Yeah.
All right.
That one would be tuition based, like Joe said, to be able to compensate Michael. Yeah.
Yeah, we make a love offering to Michael when he does the things, and the musicians and things that are doing things with us
Right.
online. Um, so we want to make sure we continue to do that. Okay, going back to our definition of insanity.
Yeah.
All right.
See, I noticed that I'm already. It's interesting how the brain works. I already want to get to the last sentence of the definition because
Yes.
that's where healing takes place. But let's keep breaking it down.
You seem the fast forward kind of guy. Okay. Psychologists find it difficult to distinguish between sanity and insanity since we are all insane in such degree as we entertain wrong conclusions about life. That's brilliant.
It is brilliant, isn't it? Anytime we do, that's what Holmes is saying, is that we're insane when we do that.
It's not if, it's not are you, it's what degree are you? It's not do you have it? It's like, we all have it.
Yep.
To what degree? To me, that's brilliant.
And when we do that, it's like, even with like, what wrong conclusions, we can all ask this of ourselves right now, what wrong conclusions am I entertaining about life right now?
Yeah.
Like, a wrong conclusion is this thing's going to go on forever and I'm actually going to, I don't know, lose it somehow, you know,
Right.
and I know, or it's going to go on forever and it's going to, which a lot of people are facing. It's going to significantly mark my financial security, or, you know, or identity security, or whatever it means. That is what Holmes is defining here as a wrongful conclusion about life.
Yeah, exactly. That's an insane viewpoint. Right now, I just keep telling everybody's projecting. I'm like, okay, you know what? It's okay to kind of look around the corner as to what the possibilities are in terms of how it's all going to unfold. But this obsession with it, you know, pounding as loudly as it's pounding, I'm like, let's just take this moment for what it is. We just have to continue doing what we're doing.
Yep.
And it is getting to the place where it's becoming more and more of a challenge. I get it, man. I've been locked down for 7 weeks, and we're coming into the month of May, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I get it. I totally get it. I'm with everybody else, but I also know that I can drive myself insane if I continue to watch TV 24/7 and listen to the pundits and listen to someone say, well, we can be released by September or next week, or you know, we may be here for 3 years. I mean, what good is that going to do me? It's like, okay, you know what, Joe, go clean your closet. Just do something productive.
Yep.
Do something productive with this time, and don't sit there and speculate. You'll know what you know. Well, you'll know what you'll need to know at the moment you'll need to know it. You'll do what you'll need to do at the moment you need to do it. We
Yep.
will all be called to attend to whatever needs to be attended to when it needs to be attended to. Until that place, we are just driving our own selves insane to that degree in which we go down the spiral. That one's the spiral in the wrong direction. When we're going down the tubes, that's when we're giving up our own sanity for this giant question mark. And
Yep.
we're going to have to learn to ride the question mark. You agree?
Yep. Agreed. Yeah. And what comes out of that insanity is what the most challenging part for me is a tremendous amount of anxiety.
Oh.
And that's the debilitating. That's when it starts getting debilitating. That's when it's, you know, time to not get out of bed because I don't want to face it, which is what I went through for 3 years, you know, for a long stretch of this extended dark night. And it's debilitating.
Yeah, I never had an extended one like that. I've had periods of that.
Yep.
No, but I've never had one extend like that, and that's got to be really frustrating. That's got to be really
right. It's just,
yeah, and disheartening the people that have to observe that. You know, as a parent now, you look at that, and if you saw your child doing that, I mean, if Carly's distressed, you know, 1 hour we get upset. Yeah. You know, it's just that's what parenting is. But to observe that and not be able to help change any of that would be really frustrating. Yeah. Really frustrating.
Yep.
All right, moving on with our definition of insanity. The throne of reason is usurped while the subjective emotional reaction to life controls the thought. The throne of reason is usurped while the subjective emotional reaction. I like that idea. I like reason. The emotion takes over the reasoning component.
Yep.
And as soon as we spiral into the emotion of something, we begin to lose the reason around it, which is why I always say, make sure your heart and your head this is much further than 12, 14, and 18 inches. This is the greatest distance to me in my life, is from here to here to the heart. It just doesn't, it's one of the greatest challenges.
Yeah. And if there wasn't individuals still that were able to reason in this moment, we wouldn't have those individuals that think they're on the cusp of an antivirus for this thing. We would just be caught up in fear and hiding and not thinking, how do we find solution, rather than just being in the problem. That's when the emotional body's usurped reason.
So it reminds me of that video that I showed on Sunday, that woman that was trying to be some sort of a conveyor of information. Did you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Watch the video. She's like, don't go outside unless you have to go outside.
Unless you have to go outside, that's right.
And if you have to go outside, make sure, don't go outside. Just how many times do we have to tell you, stay in, but don't stay in. And it was almost like there was this collision of, you're like, you get all of, it was this emotional and logical, back and forth. It was like watching a tennis match. And this whole experience has been watching a ping pong game of no one's conclusions, of speculative ideas. And I think that's been the most frustrating thing. And like any discussion you're having with someone, as soon as you're having a rational discussion with someone, but then you spoon in some emotion around it and some passion, oh yeah, the buttons get pushed and things get blown up. And next, it's not about what any of that had, what you were arguing about. It's now about the emotional, which is usually about the ego. Then that entire fight becomes magnified. I mean, just electrified. Yep. And then you try to figure out what exactly were we fighting about. And then it was about that I'm right and you're wrong. Had no idea what the subject matter is. It was just one of us was going down.
Yeah, you actually forget what you were fighting about anyway.
Like, I said, pass the salt. What? I don't understand. It's supposed to be an easy request. The real mind, of course, cannot be deranged, and a complete mental treatment for insanity is to know that there is but one mind, which is now functioning and perfectly functioning in the individual who appears to be insane. So when we're losing it, we just have to remember that there's only one mind. That mind is God's mind. That mind is perfect. It's our mind. And we always say that. It's a trite little one that comes back all the time when we do science of mind. But it does fit in certain moments. And that to me is one of those moments where we go, okay, look, lately, my thing is, before I get sucked into any conversations around COVID or politics, I just have to go, you know what? I'm choosing not to go into it. I just make a conscious choice not to jump in the pool and go swimming with such an energy. There's everything is so polarizing that it's impossible to find. I shouldn't say that. It could be impossible to find your sanity if you chose to swim in the insanity of what appears to be out there.
Yep. And reason's a great word there. To me, that just means, with whatever it is, and kind of the laundry list that you were just mentioning, that reason is the capacity to listen, have your mind willing to be changed, and share from a place of compassion your point of view.
Yep.
So it's like, very few times are we willing to go into any conversation being willing to have our mind changed. This is my conclusion, and then this is where I am about it. And you are not going to, and I realize that about myself too. Like, there's certain things that you just can't talk me into seeing. I get it. Well, if I'm that staunch in my stance, I'm going to meet that. And so right here, I need to be willing to, have at least be willing to entertain another point of view. I can still come to the conclusion that I already have, but am I willing? And that to me creates harmony. There's just not much willingness going around right now.
Yeah.
It's painful, can be.
I'm wondering, do I meet it or does it meet me?
It's gotta be.
Do I go? Do I go to it? Am I is there something in us? This is a bigger question. Is there something in us that attracts the conversations that are whirling around in our subconscious mind? Are we, through the law of attraction, am I being pulled into this, or am I searching for it, or am I don't know. It's funny. It's like, is it meeting me? Is it someone else's conversation coming to me, and I just happen to be the innocent one standing in the way, or is it indeed something I'm attracting? Um,
Yes. Say yes.
yeah, yeah, both.
Yeah.
Let's see, what do we have? Where did you get that video on Sunday service? Was fabulous. Somebody, you know what? I saw it on Facebook. Someone sent me that. I saw it posted on Facebook, so I had to track it down and make sure that
Hilarious.
it's legal to use. But it was beyond hilarious. So just it was just amazing. All right, here we go. I keep following my friends center and remind me of everything. Okay, here we go. This is a long question, so I'm not sure if I'm supposed to share this because it's about a hospital and a person. So this person's father is in the hospital at Eisenhower. Um, he is having many seizures in his brain, and the neurologist and other doctors are trying to figure out why. I go through moments of spiraling into insanity. I keep calling on my friends from the center to remind me of everything I truly know. I would like
Good.
to ask everyone and thank everyone for continued prayers and support. Do you have any more suggestions for me? Yes. Okay. So first off, what I'd like you to do is when we log off of this call, I would like you to put in a formal prayer request on our website. Go to our website, put in a prayer request. They will put that'll go out to all the practitioners and ministers in our center. Number one, that's the first
Yep.
thing.
Yep. I
Second,
love what you're doing. I'm sorry, Joe. I'm continuing to reach out from friends to the center to keep your sanity. Keep doing that too. It keeps you grounded. It keeps you from being alone. When we're alone in our own minds, that can be a terrifying place sometimes.
yeah. And I think one of the prayers that I've always used in moments like that is a prayer. Everyone in moments like that are searching for an answer, and when there's the lack of an answer, the mind begins to make one up. And the lack of clarity in an answer, the mind begins to make up a solution, whether it's true or not. It just begins to do that. So I think in those situations, I always tell people, look, I think you need to just stand back and pray for clarity, because in situations like that, it's very foggy, it's very unclear. But I pray that the right thing will be made known at the moment it needs to be made known. And through all of this confusion that's happening with the doctors trying to figure out that why, understanding that sometimes science is a science, and allowing time to process the answers, not on our timeline, but on the timeline of using the wisdom and knowledge that people have gained, that will put us in a situation where we are open and receptive to the clarity. So it takes more time than we want, but in my mind, we have to say, it's not about my timing, it's about the clarity and wisdom and the fog lifting over the uncertain scenario and allowing the right answers to come forward.
Yes.
I know, and I've seen it happen where there are family members so intent on pushing for an answer that finally the doctor just sort of gives them what they want to hear, even though it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to get them to the next place. They're like, okay, look, I can no longer help you. You need to go somewhere else, because lost patience, that lost their own patience with working within the system that this doctor is working with. And sometimes you do that. Sometimes you have to do it. Sometimes we force ourselves into situations where there's even less clarity as a result of that. So I would encourage you to say, keep your dad on the prayer list. You keep him on the prayer list. We'll keep him on the prayer list. We'll pray for your clarity and your patience as the answers unfold, because we know that all the answers are already known in the mind of God, making their way to you and me as we wait for their logical and sequential things to unfold. So once we get to that space, in our headspace, we can allow ourselves to surrender into the God knows the answer to this. I may not see it. It may not be perfectly clear to the people that are working on the case, but that doesn't mean that clarity won't come into play. It's not.
That's right.
Focus
Yep.
in.
I would also offer that hopefully whoever's making that comment, if you have the book, The Science of Mind, there's a wonderful section toward the back. It starts on page 507. It's called Meditations for Self-Help and Healing. There's short paragraphs, and there's a number of them. And you can find one in there that fits your situation right now. And if you don't have the Science of Mind, I encourage you to order it somehow, get it. You can get it from the center. I know Elizabeth will help you get it if you call into the office, but those short meditations are powerful words for healing and comfort.
There are times when I do Dial-In ID and I just use them because they're so powerful. So very powerful. All right, so let's see, what else do we have? I've surrendered to being in the mystery. I focus on the good. I've been finding that when I feel discouraged or distressed, it helps me uplift others by sending humor, beauty, or something that will elicit a smile in others. Uplifting dear ones brightens my day. Absolutely. One of the surefire ways of moving me out of actually getting me out of the ditch of despair or depression is to have those moments where I'm able to laugh. And the other day I got into a conversation, I don't know who it was, when we were FaceTiming, and I felt myself let loose on just one of those belly laughs.
Feels good.
Full on, and I thought, oh my God, I forgot what that feels like. I forgot what that felt like. And in that moment I thought, that felt so good. And so I've been watching myself and trying to figure out, okay, how can I find those again? And thank God for Netflix and the internet. It's becoming someone just said TikTok videos. Oh yeah, no, I'm now an addict with that kind of stuff.
That's what I was going to say. If you get TikTok, prepare to be addicted. That's why I haven't done it yet.
Well, and you know what? The problem, okay, so here, not the problem. See, I'm already calling it a problem. See, like when I actually go back to having a full day's agenda and schedule, how am I going to fit all that in? I mean, now I've got all this other stuff to fit into my day. All right, so we're going to call it a day. Is there any more questions out there? We try to keep these around 45 minutes to an hour. Okay, so what's up? Today is Tuesday, right? So tomorrow we have vision boarding. The Sensational Six ministerial students are going to teach people how to create vision boards. Yep. That's happening. Then Eddie Watkins Jr., man, he's a great cool artist. Oh yeah, he's so full of soul. I mean, he is just amazing. So Eddie and I are going to do a little thing on Thursday, and then on Friday, Michael Bogart is back with Reverend Charles. Saturday we have our meditation that's held every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock. Sunday, we're starting to put the service together for Sunday. I have no idea where that's going to go, but I tell you, it's going to be a good one. But before we
go to heaven.
What's that?
I said it's going to go to heaven. That's what.
Oh yeah. Oh, and then I think Laura has her class tomorrow, Thursday, 10 o'clock or 2 o'clock too. So we have a couple things going on. So before I do that, before we leave, I just want to say if you're logging in and have been logging in, we really appreciate your support. The center definitely needs your support at this time. Just being really candid, because I'm always candid and honest with everyone. Our contributions are significantly down this week. So I'd like people to step up and step into their own flow and help the center continue doing what it does. And there is an expectation.
Please.
I'm going to put this out there because there is an expectation that when this is over, the center is going to be when you left, you want it to be the way it was. And we're making every effort to do that. But in order to do that, the law of circulation must take place within all of us to continue supporting the center, because if people want it to be the same when they get back and they need that continued support, we're going to have to make sure that people step up and support us. So there's a way to do that. I'm sure that there's some sort of a button somewhere.
Oh, yeah. It's on there. And if I may say that, Elizabeth's diligent on continuing to upgrade our brick and mortar while this time is happening, while there's less activity at the center. Like we put the new roof, there's painting happening, the gardening. I mean, there's a consistent attention to detail for our building from Elizabeth and team. That our center will be better than it was when we come back. So
using that opportunity to do the maintenance that has already been budgeted, that we were doing all at once instead of waiting for the summertime. We're actually doing it now. Yes, there's a bottom on the button where you contribute. Any news on the masks? Yes, the news is UPS has them. That's all. If I could just,
they paid us.
If I could just get UPS to just. So we're waiting for UPS, and as soon as they're available, but yet no, we are in. yeah, we're in UPS hell on that one. We're waiting for UPS to deliver it. The second they do, we'll let you guys know and we'll get those out because I know many of us have ordered several. So that's on the way. So I think that covers everything. Does it cover everything?
Yeah. Well, then we've already got a nice lineup for the following week too. So we continue to.
Oh yeah, no, the following
we
have guests. I got Dr. Ken Gordon's going to be on the talk show with me and Charles and Reverend Edward Villieu, the new CSL spiritual leader. He's going to be on Tuesday. And then Wednesday, the ministerial students are doing something. I'm not sure what they're doing. Anyway, there's something we're continuing to put our programming together so that we can keep you guys in touch with all of us and we can be in touch with you. So again, thanks, Charles. Thanks for showing up. We got a busy afternoon. I'll see you in just a half hour for another board meeting.
Much love, buddy. CSLPD.
All right, guys. Have a great afternoon. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow at 10 o'clock.
Love.